So he's talking to me like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? And I'm like, listen, you don't need to know who I am. He's like, you're the owner, aren't you? You're the owner. And I'm not saying nothing, right? I'm just not saying nothing. I'm like, you don't need to know who I am. Then he starts getting crazy. So we are going to talk about the experience that I just had with respect to one of the tenants that I have. And this particular tenant has been an absolute disaster of a tenant. I've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
This tenant has caused a few of my property managers to quit. I'm not joking. So I have the main ones, right? Like John and Christine, they run the show, and then I have other ones that are underneath John and Christine because they can't handle all my properties. Mm-hmm. So like some of them have quit because of this.
Crazy.
Yeah. So this particular tenant, I'll go through the whole backstory. This particular tenant was assumed. We did not put this particular tenant in this.
Do you remember when you acquired this property?
Yeah. So this would have been more than a few years ago. This would have probably been closer to somewhere in between 3, 4, or 5 years ago. So this was a 7-unit probate deal. So the tenant, I bought a house. Well, sorry, the seller, I bought a house from, I bought a duplex from, and I bought a fourplex from. The seller died in the house. So the house was one of his residents. He was out of town. He was an out of town seller and landlord. He would come into town because I believe his family lives here now. It was an elderly gentleman, and he ended up dying in the house. I think I told this on multiple podcasts, but he ended up dying in the house. He was sitting in his chair. He fell over when he died onto the floor, and nobody knew that he died for like a week or two. Mm-hmm. So we ended up having to cut the floor out. We had to like replace the floor. I don't think I have any pictures of it, but like you could see like there's like new floorboards in there, and there's new
Crazy.
Like we had to replace the hardwood, the subfloor, and we actually had to cut out some of the joists underneath it and then re-brace the joists underneath the floor because it was like a hazmat safety fucking concern because the guy obviously melted into, which is super gross and sad at the same time because I don't think he had a lot of family to. It's sad, like, to be honest with you, it's sad, right? But sad, gross, and I guess somewhat awkwardly funny. Which I don't know how to explain it, but it's
that's crazy. That's one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
You don't want to go like that.
And what's crazy is that this story that you're about to tell is not even like about that guy.
Yeah.
This is
so I ended up assuming
preamble.
What?
Just the preamble.
Exactly. So I ended up assuming a tenant of this gentleman's duplex, upper level duplex. So this guy has been an absolute fucking nightmare. He wasn't a nightmare in the beginning. So not soon after though, assuming this guy as a tenant, he started to kind of get a little crazy. He ended up going off from work. He had a job. He ended up, I guess, losing his job. He ended up going off on ODSP. So ODSP is like government assistance, especially when you have like something going on mentally or whatever. So he's on ODSP. He's only paying $500 a month, mind you. Maybe I think we kind of up it a little bit as whatever the government tells you can. But we started out as only $500. Now, granted, this is a big duplex. This is probably like an 800 to 900 square foot duplex, 2-bed, 2-bath, but it's big. It's a big duplex. It's got like a dining room. It's like an old style brick duplex. So this guy starts going AWOL. Okay. So for the longest time, he's been throwing out his garbage. I got a fucking, where is it? Right here. Where is it? Right here. Yeah, right here. A notice right here, literally. Repeat offender notice from this fucking guy throwing out his garbage from the second floor duplex just everywhere. And I'll see if I can go there tonight and take video of the condition. He's broken the doors. He's broken the windows multiple times. There's garbage everywhere right now. I was there earlier. Everywhere.
Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? This is all the garbage?
Other than the cardboard, yeah, that's all the garbage.
Okay, you guys are gonna get a real good, wow, it stinks. You guys are gonna get a really good look at what true, like, true property ownership is gonna be like. None of this fancy ass shit, none of this, like, this is legit. I'm gonna take you guys through what it really means to be a landlord. There you go. People don't give a shit. People don't give a f.
Always one, but there were a couple.
Yeah. Guy's doing heroin for sure. It's an insulin needle. Nice. Real nice.
So this is going on, right? And when I assumed this duplex, he was upstairs. There was also a scenario where his buddies or whatever were squatting in the unit below. Okay. So we ended up getting them out. Okay. So then right around that time, I would say, is when he went fucking crazy. When after we renovated the unit below, got his buddies out or his cronies or whatever was going on down there, and then renovated the unit and then got a new tenant in the bottom unit. Now, one of the reasons why we didn't really notice what was going on with this particular person was because there was no one else in the building, okay, to like report what was going on. And he also wasn't throwing his garbage out of the second floor at that particular time, right? So we kind of knew he was a little bit of a fucking weirdo. But now that there were tenants below, then the shitstorm started to happen. We were getting sent voice recordings of this particular guy about literally, I'll see if I can find a voice recording. I don't know if I actually have one or not, but I'll see if I can find one. Threatening to rape the person down below in the second or the first floor was a married couple, a little bit older, middle-aged, and he was up late at night threatening at the door. So in the back of this duplex, you can imagine there's like an enclosed fire escape in the back, and he would come down and go to the back door of the other tenant and start banging on it, telling the guy to come out because he wants to talk to him. And then he would like flip and be like, get the fuck outside. I want to fuck you up. Like, I want to fucking kill you. I'm going to fucking kill you. Like crazy shit. Telling the girl that if he doesn't come out, he's going to rape his wife. Okay. Like crazy shit like that. Starts throwing out his garbage to the point where I'm getting fined. Now you gotta understand. We're cleaning up his garbage. So Bill, my maintenance guy, will go there, cut the grass, clean up all his shit. Okay. And then within a week's time, there's more garbage. And then, I think like 4 or 5 times I've been fined about $250 from a bylaw officer, because what happens is this is what happens. So we'll get the notice that we're going to get fined. Okay. We'll clean it up. And then the bylaw officer will come back and it looks like it hasn't been cleaned, but it's new garbage.
Crazy.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Crazy.
Because I'm showing Bill these things and he's like, what the fuck I'm coming here cleaning it up.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's new garbage. Wow. So it's crazy, right? And it just so happens that every time the bylaw officer comes by, that's what's going on. But we're actually cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. He's just throwing out new garbage. So this is happening. He not long ago, maybe a couple months ago, kicked his back door that's in the fire escape off the hinges and threw it down the fire escape, broke a window, broke the fucking railing, put holes in the wall as the door was like going down. Crazy, right? We refused to fix it. We ended up having to fix it. We didn't necessarily refuse to fix it. We went to court trying to get this guy out. And every single time he goes to court, there's a sob story of a narrative, right? The guy is a sociopath. So when he's in front of whoever he needs to be in front of, his tone, his demeanor changes, right? When nobody's around that he is held accountable to, like he's a fucking psycho, okay? But then when anybody's around that he needs to be accountable to, he's like the sweetest guy, right? Really, it's actually like spooky. Mm. So, So then we go to, court. He gives a sob story that they're not doing their maintenance on the property. Look at my door. It's off the hinges. They refuse to fix it. Then we get ordered to fix his fucking door that he kicked in, right? It's crazy, right? Like, I'm not a slumlord. I take care of my shit.
Yeah.
So craziness. So we've been to court multiple times. He'll get behind on rent. He'll go to court. This guy absolutely knows how to play the system. He'll plead to the system where, hey, listen, I'll get on a payment plan, no problem. He gets on a payment plan. He gets caught up and then goes right back, right? So it's kind of crazy. So we ended up finally getting awarded the eviction, okay? He's supposed to be out August 1st. The Friday before August 1st, he's not out. So we're like, what the fuck? So we're waiting for the sheriff to issue notice to him that he's got to leave. Well, apparently that happened this morning, and it set him off like AWOL, okay, this morning. Bill was there, apparently, to cut the grass. He assaulted Bill. He smacked Bill, okay? He smacked him and smacked the phone out of his hand as well. Phone goes flying. He threw a bin at his son, Steven. Like whipped the bin. It's funny, but it's not funny. But it's
fucking wild.
When I'm hearing myself talk about this shit, it's like it's so crazy and ridiculous that it's like you
can't help but laugh.
I can't help but laugh. It's like a fucking train wreck, right? So he throws a fucking bin at Steven's head, okay? Hits Steven. So then the cops are called. So the cops go there. And not just the cops, the fucking SWAT team goes there, okay? So I roll up there. The fucking SWAT team is there.
You're on the phone with me.
Yeah, so I'm on the phone.
As you're rolling up there.
Yeah, I was rolling up there. I'm like, why the fuck are there undercover cops? Well, they weren't undercover cops. It was the fucking SWAT team, okay? So the SWAT team is there. And why is the SWAT team there? Because there was an assault, okay? So the SWAT team rolls up there, and the reason why they're there is because they want to make sure that people are safe, because when there's like, volatile scenario where there's like physical harm, a potential of severe physical harm, they go, right? So turns out I end up knowing one of the guys, okay? And so I'm talking to them, and there's just like, listen, there's nothing we can do. He threatened to kill Bill again, and they're like, we could take him in. He's going to be out in 3 hours. Like, it doesn't make sense, this and that, whatever. So this is our system, right? The guy should... Basically, which is crazy, and what they end up saying is, Christine, I guess, was on the phone with them earlier. I didn't know that she was on the phone with one of the guys that I know, and and it's unfortunate because I know these guys want to do something, but they can't. They can't do anything. The cops want to do something, they can't fucking do anything. Their hands are tied. And basically, Christine is explaining to me, or the guy there that I know was explaining to me that when she was on the phone with him, she's like, so you're telling me that something actually has to happen before we do anything? And he's like, yeah. So she's like, someone has to die, someone has to get really hurt, whatever. And he's like, pretty much, yeah. And this is where I get a little bit frustrated because, so far, he's only said things. He hasn't done anything. However, the person that he was assaulting and has a charge against, which basically is like a piece of paper. I can't remember exactly the wording on this, but maybe somebody can help me out in the comments. But it's basically they told me, I can't remember what it's called. It's basically saying it's like a restraining order, but it's like a pending charge or whatever for like uttering death threats and threatening and all that kind of shit. And it basically says like, listen, you can't go close to me or something like that, right? Anyways, those tenants that were there prior to the tenants currently, they ended up moving. He ended up finding them, okay, this crazy bastard. He ended up finding them. He rolls up to them on their bike, kicks the guy, okay? So then what does the guy do? He punches him off his fucking bike, gets on top of him, punches him a few times, calls the cops, and then, yeah. So he ended up finding them. So this guy's like crazy, right? So anyways, back to the story when I roll up there. So I'm like...
But you do have new tenants in the downstairs unit?
I have new tenants in the downstairs unit. They ended up leaving, okay? They ended up leaving because what does this guy keep doing? He keeps kicking the toilet off of the wax seal. So what happens? The wax seal is now draining into the ceiling. And because the wax seal is not the seal is no longer a fucking seal, whenever he's flushing the toilet, now the toilet's draining into the ceiling above. What happens? The fucking ceiling collapses in their bedroom with shit and piss. Yeah. So they email us and they're like, "What the fuck? What are we doing?" And I'm like, "Listen, I can't help you.
Yeah.
Like, I've repaired that ceiling so many fucking times, and this guy keeps on kicking that toilet off to overflowing the sink in the bathroom, overflowing the tub. He's actually letting homeless people come in. I didn't know this, but he's letting homeless people come in to use the bathroom, which is fucking crazy. Okay, so this is getting like wild now. All right, so then he starts. So then this happened, and I'm like, listen, I'm gonna refund you August's rent. Go to a hotel or do something. Go stay with family or whatever. It's an elderly woman and her daughter, okay? And they work in the area and all that kind of shit. And I'm like, I can't help you. What do you want me to do here? They don't want to leave. And I'm like, listen, guys, like I can't fix the scenario because he's out in. So anyways, the notice that got left today was the sheriff saying, get your fucking shit out by August 16th. I'm coming back to make sure you're gone, okay? To physically remove you if you're not. So that set him off. Let me go back. That's what ended up setting him off today. And while that happened, Bill was there, and that's why he got violent with Bill and Steven, because they were doing property maintenance, cutting the grass, all that bullshit, right? What the fuck is this called? No, this is John, my property manager. So, anyways, I roll up there. I see the cop that I know. I start talking to him, whatever. And, I can hear him getting... Like he's off in the background, right? And I pull up behind the cop on the road, and
you said that there's like a gathering of people. That
there's a gathering of people.
Like a commotion.
Yeah. So there were multiple. So on the phone, I heard a bunch of screaming. I must have been close. Bill must have been close with the guy as he was like screaming and getting all crazy. Oh, and going back about the water scenario that's going on there. He also doesn't let anybody in his unit to fix the problems. We have to get a judgment to go in to fix the issues. So and above all this, he's not even supposed to be there right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I end up going there. I see a cop that I know. So we start talking. He ends up getting a call, and he walks away. I end up talking to another cop that's like, oh, I've actually met this other guy as well. So my brother-in-law's a cop. The guy that Sean that I used to work out with all the time. He's up in London now. But I know these guys from like these guys, right? And other friends from the gym or whatever. So I know all these cops. So he comes over. He's like, oh yeah, we met before, whatever. So what happens? This motherfucker comes over. And he's like, who is this guy? Who is that guy? He comes up to me. He's
Pointing
like,
to who?
Me.
Okay.
And asking the cop, right? And the cop's like, listen, don't like you don't need to know who this guy is or whatever. So then he comes over to me as I'm talking to the cop, and he's like, who the fuck are you? So I'm just standing there, right? Dude, I'm just standing there. So he's got his bike. So he's on his fucking bike. No, actually, sorry. At this point, he's not on his bike. He walked over. So he's talking to me like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? And I'm like, listen, you don't need to know who I am. He's like, you're the owner, aren't you? You're the owner. And I'm not saying nothing, right? I'm just not saying nothing. I'm like, you don't need to know who I am. Then he starts getting crazy. So then he's like, fuck you, you piece of shit. You see my dad over there? His dad was there too. So he calls his dad. Okay, so his dad's like this older, bigger, fatter guy. Older guy, probably 70 or something like that. He's like, you see that guy over there, the older guy? He can't even take a shit he can't even take a shit in my unit. You're a fucking delinquent landlord. You never do anything around here. And listen, I do everything. Like I go above, this. I go way above and beyond what the fuck I have to do for my tenants. For sure. I am nowhere near a delinquent or slumlord. I am nowhere near. I am very much aware of having good quality tenants, and having a good quality property will promote having good quality tenants. I'm very much aware of this, and that's what I live by. So he starts going off. You're a fucking piece of shit. Wait till I fucking see you without these cops. It was crazy. Wait till I fucking see you outside of these cops. You fucking better watch yourself. You better fucking watch it. So I'm standing there, dude, and I'm like, oh my God. And he starts getting like kind of, and the cop is like beside me, right? Buddy's beside me, and he's going like, Brian, what are you trying to do here? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here. Like, you need to leave, right? But he's not like restraining him. He's about as close as, he's like an arm's length away.
Wow.
Okay? So he's like an arm's length away. But he's like pointing, right? And he's like pointing. He's like, and he's whispering like, you better fucking watch yourself. Like, you better like, if I see you out, you better fucking watch yourself, this and that. I'm going to fucking, you better watch yourself. And he won't finish his sentences, right? Like, he's like, I'm going to fucking, but he won't finish his sentences. And he keeps on saying this shit. He keeps on saying this. He walks back. Then Buddy comes, you know, the other cop comes over. We keep talking or whatever. And then he starts circling, like he gets on his bike. Okay. So he gets on his bike and he starts circling the block. So it's like crazy. It's like a fucking shark scene from like fucking Discovery Channel Shark Week. So he starts circling the block on his fucking bicycle. And I can see him. He's like this. He's pointing at me. He's pointing at me like this, right? And then he's going down the block, right? And he's like, you better fucking watch yourself. You better fucking watch yourself. And then he rolls up on his bike again. And then he starts doing the same shit to me as I'm talking to the cops. So I'm like, this fucking guy's crazy, right? It was honestly out of a fucking movie. Mm-hmm. It was, I wish I would have taped it. And I also, like, it's crazy because I've been in those scenarios before, and I was telling you this. I've been in those scenarios before where, now again, this was a different setting, but I've been in scenarios where people have been in my face like that, and I just punch them out. Mm-hmm. I just punch their fucking teeth in, and because I'm not gonna wait. It's gonna be me or you. But this was such a crazy scenario. It's been a long time where I've had somebody talk so aggressively like that to me, and done nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
And it was so funny because the second time he did that, as he left on his bike, the cop was just like, don't you just wish you could just punch that fucking guy out? And I'm like, dude, it's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting in the truck, right? And then Buddy comes up up to me, and he's like, asking me questions, how's the golf course going, this and that. We start shooting the shit or whatever, because like I said, I know him. This is the guy that I know really well. And so then this guy, Brian, walks over. He's like, I see him starting to sweep, right? Like, he's like sweeping all the shit that he threw in like the alleyway. I see him like pointing, and he's like pointing at me still. I'm sitting in my truck, and he's pointing at me still. He goes in the house, comes back out, starts walking up again. And I'm like, what the fuck now? So then I see him. He starts writing down my fucking license plate on a piece of paper. And I'm like, this motherfucker has no idea. Like, you can't just get someone's fucking information from license plate digits, mm-hmm. right? So then the cop that I'm talking to, he's like, this guy obviously has no idea. Like, at the end of the day, if he does find out where I live, that means someone told him, either at like the ministry, another cop, which they're not going to fucking tell this guy.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And that's a significant breach of, privacy. Mm-hmm. So first of all, if anybody ever sees this, number one, if somebody ever takes a picture of your license plate, or if somebody ever writes your license plate down to be threatening, there's a very slim chance they're going to be able to do anything with that, unless they have a significant connection with a cop or at the ministry or someone, and they will be very unlikely to give that out, because if anything stems from that person writing that information down or telling you that information, it's their ass that's also on the line. So it's hilarious when people think that they could just like take a picture of your license plate or, whatever, right? But crazy scenario, man. So I'm gonna go there to see if I can take some video and add it to this podcast to mm-hmm. give people a little bit of context, because it's, again, probably one of my, it's turning into one of definitely my slummiest units, only because every time I try to do something there, it's getting ransacked. Mm-hmm. And I know something's going to happen to that building where he's going to leave, he'll break in, unlawfully or something's going to happen. There's going to be break-ins or something's going to happen in that building. I fucking know it. But yeah, wild scenario, man. Wild scenario.
Fucking crazy.
It really is. This has honestly been like a crazy, like a legitimately fucking crazy of a scenario. I've never, in the 15 years of doing this, I have never run into something so utterly crazy than this guy. I've never been threatened at a property. I've never had anybody, physically assaulted where, people aren't even feel safe. Even my property managers, they don't even feel safe going there. It's actually kind of crazy. Yeah.